Hello everyone, good morning or afternoon or evening whenever you listen to this audio or watch this video. So we're from the fourth group and we will explain to you about genre and register in discourse analysis. But before we jump right into the explanations, I would like to introduce our group first. Our group members are Amitya Marmorasiahan, Arthur Lasido, Afia Zahra, Nicholas Bisma, and Muhammad Fatur. I hope you're enjoying our explanations. Feel free to ask if our explanation isn't clear enough for you, and let's get started. So, I'm pretty sure you've heard about genre before, but in this course we wouldn't talk about genre in music as in pop, indie, and other stuff, and genre or even genre in movies like romantic, sci-fi movies. We wouldn't talk about that. We will talk about genre in discourse analysis. So, genre, register, and type are employed by linguists and lecturers alike in order to distinguish texts based on their linguistic contents within a discourse analysis. So, that means that genre, register, and type exists to differentiate texts based on their linguistic contents. But what exactly are genre, type, and register? We will talk about this later. So, the first one we will talk about are genre. So, what exactly is genre? Genre is a term used to classify types of spoken or written discourse. The spoken discourse I mean in this context is like a presentations or a spoken speech, etc. These classifications are differentiated based on the intent of the communicator. So, genre is more concerned on the basis of use rather than on the basis of form. What's the difference between genre and types? Genre and types are honestly pretty similar, but I will explain to you about the difference. So, genre is a category which divides text based on the external criteria. I bolded this one because this is what really differentiates genre and type. Those external criteria are intended audience of the text, the purpose, and other features which are conventionally accepted outside the lexical or grammatical features. So genre is not really focusing on the grammatical features or the lexical features. As I was saying before, genre is more focused on the intent of the text. And type is a category which divides text based on the internal criteria, such as grammatical and lexical features of the text, like tenses, the point of view, and so on. That is why, even though both a police report and an advertisement belong to the same type, because they use simple present and third person perspective and a similar descriptive and narrative, so they have the same grammatical and lexical features, but they belong to different genres, since the two texts have completely different rhetorical and social functions. It is known that a police report and advertisement are two different things. They have the different purpose, different audience, so that is why the genre are different.
Now, let us take a look at how do we differ in classifying text based on its genre and type. Now look at example 1. A text could be described as a recipe based on its genre, which is based on its social and rhetorical functions. Instead will be described as a procedure based on its type, which means it is classified based on its linguistics, grammatical, and lexical contents or criteria. Moving on, we have the three dimensions of genre. First of all, obviously, as mentioned before, we have the social dimensions, which means we classify genres based on its social context. And secondly, we have the linguistic dimensions, which means we classify genre based on the linguistic purposes of the text. And lastly, we also classify genre based on the cognitive dimension, which means that we classify genre based on how a person understand and contemplate that text. Next, we have register. What is register? Well, register is a concept which theorizes that the use of language is a matter of social condition and context. Language could not have existed without social context. For example, a professor who is teaching in a class will be more likely to say, "Would you mind closing the window?" instead of "Close the window," due to the social context that he was speaking in. And now, in relation to register, we have three kinds of contextual dimensions. The first is tenor, also known as interpersonal. The second is textual, also known as mood. And the last but not least is ideational, also known as the field. First, interpersonal, also known as tenor. What is interpersonal? Well, interpersonal is a linguistic theory which examines the use of language within the text based on the interpersonal relations, which is the relationships between the author and the audience. For example, the kind of language that is used for writing a message between two friends will be very, very different compared to that of a matter-of-fact style used in journal reviews or essays. Another example for you to think about interpersonal is how a student would use a completely different kind of language simply based on who they are texting with. Obviously, when this student is texting to his or her boyfriend or girlfriend will be different from that is being used to his teacher or lecturer, simply because the person or people they are speaking or writing to are different. So that is how do we analyze social context based on the interpersonal dimensions.
Two, mood, textual. A linguistic theory which examines the use of language in a text from the context of the subjects in the text itself. A text containing subjects such as fictional story would be very different from the one that contains scientific research. For example, an article in a scientific journal would use far more complex sentences, low-frequency words, and technical terms than a commercial advertisement. Leong 2016. Formal subjects tend to be made in a written-like style. From a linguistic perspective, it is more lexically dense and they use more complex sentences. On the other hand, non-formal text is written in a more relaxed spoken-like style.
The third is field or ideational, is a linguistic theory which examines the use of language from the context of what is being discussed and in general the goal of the text. For example, A transcript of a football commentary would use an everyday language and simple football terms that most of fans could understand. And on the other hand, a sport news analysis on the same game would use a much more complex language and specialized technical terms. So in this case, the usage of dictions, the usage of language depends on the audience of the text. And on the next slide, we can see an onion style chart about the material. The first layer contains language organized by metafunction, and it consists of textual, ideational, and interpersonal. And next, in the outer layer, the context level 1, it is a register organized by metafunction that consists of mode, field, and tenor. And then the outer side of the onion chart is the genre, which is the context level 2 is the genre above and beyond metafunctions.
Let's take a look at text composition planning C. First, I'll explain about tenor. Who is my audience? In a two-way communication, we are the first person and our audience is the second person, or people who read our ideas based on our expertise and knowledge. What is the relationship between me as the author and my audience? We are the author as an expert and the audience as a novice. Is the relationship personal or impersonal? The relationship between the author with the audience is impersonal because the communication is about delivery of knowledge or expertise by one person to many people. Is the relationship formal or informal? It's formal because the relationship is intended to be formal communication between the author and the audience. Will I be writing in the first person, second, or third person? We will be writing in the first person as the expert to share or deliver our knowledge through another. The second one is field. What content I'll be writing about? We will be writing about our expertise in specialized form by using scientific or academic terms. In this way, our audience will comprehensively be able to understand our point of view. The third one is mode. Will my text in spoken like or written like? It's written like because we are the author who share our knowledge in form of writing such as book or article. Will my text be planned or spontaneous? Our text will be planned because the text must be written chronologically and systematically so the ideas in the text can be understood. How will my text be published? In written report because the text is composed in written like as a scientific works. According to Fert, in the application of genre and register, we can find three major context components that can become main problem. They are participants, objects, and the results themselves, which can influence each other. The verbal and non-verbal action of the participants will indicate the objects, which are relevant with the context of communication. Then in return, the participants and the objects will implicate or influence the results.